This is the How'd You Do It podcast, and I'm your host, Lyle Wilkes. I believe that people have more to offer and knowledge to share than they ever give themselves credit for. So with that, my goal is to deep dive into the success stories of business owners, entrepreneurs, and community icons so they can share the road they traveled and what they learned along the way. Welcome to episode 2 of How'd You Do It podcast. I'm Lyle Wilkes, your host, and today we have a very special guest. It's Ashley Williams, the owner of Pest Pro, which is a pest control company located here in Alabama. And her story is just unbelievable. It's crazy. I thought I knew her well going in, and I'm stumbling over my words because we just finished up the podcast, and it was amazing. She's got a ton of knowledge within the industry, but also just personal level. She's an amazing person, and I know you're going to dig the story. So here it is. We start now.
Yeah.
What's going on? All right, Ashley. I've known you for a long time. But I think you got a cool story, and that's what we're here to talk about. And I think you're super successful. I think I respect the crap out of you. I think you run a phenomenal company, and I love what you do. I mean, I see your trucks everywhere, all over town and stuff. And I think it would be great if, the listeners had an opportunity to kind of hear your story.
Sure.
And I'm interested in it as well. I think you've got a good one. So, how did you get started in the pest control business? Did you just wake up one day and was like, you know what, I want to kill bugs today?
I don't think any little girl says, I want to kill bugs for a living. No, this was supposed to be a part-time gig for me. I went to Huntington College, was looking for a part-time job, found a local company that needed some office help, and March 2006, my freshman year of college, I started, and I haven't looked back.
Yeah. So let me get that right. So you started while you were going to college, and as far as a front desk help.
Yeah.
What'd you go to college for?
I have an accounting degree.
Has that helped? What?
100%.
100%?
Yes.
So you like numbers?
No, not necessarily. I like methods.
Okay.
Accounting is a method.
Elaborate. Yeah.
So I like to be told what to do, how to do it, and I can do it. I can follow directions.
Okay.
That's all accounting is. I'm terrible at math, great at methods. So if you tell me what to do, how to do it, I can fill it in and get to the answer.
So I bet your company's got pretty good systems, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Systems, processes.
We have the Pest Pro process.
I got you. I love the name too. Yeah. So Pest Pro process. So you were at college, you graduated with an accounting degree, and so throughout college you were the front desk help.
Well, it started that way. I started as just filing, just a file clerk, and then started to learn more about the business, started to learn how to schedule, started to learn how to sell as I grew with the company. And then they had some turnover, and so by my second year there, I was actually running the office and going to school full time.
How did you balance that? Did you just not party like the rest of them?
I did not party.
Okay.
I did not party. I did not live on campus. When I decided to go to school, I knew I was going to school for a purpose, and that's what I did. I went to school. I didn't do anything extra. Left school, went to work, go back to school. And so I didn't play softball. Everybody thinks I played softball. I didn't.
Okay.
I went to school. That's all I did.
School, work, and that's it.
That's it, and that's all I did for 4 years. I mean, Huntington's known to be a very hard school. It is, and it taught me a lot about work ethic. Yeah. You go to class, and then you have about 8 hours of homework. I mean, it's no joke.
Yeah. Do you think that was designed that way you didn't party, or?
I don't know, because some people did, but I was lucky when I was at work. I could do homework as long as my job was done.
Yeah.
So that's something that I've always been grateful for.
Gotcha. So you just continued, after you graduated, when you were going to school, what did you think you were going to do?
I thought I was going to go get a CPA.
Really?
Yeah. I thought I was going to be a CPA. Actually, when I started in college, I just had a general business major, and then about year 2, I was like, I really like accounting.
Okay.
And made the swap, and I mean, I still use it to today for sure, doing books and stuff, but I really always thought I would, the track when I started college and developed the CPA major was I would eventually become a CPA at a big firm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what changed when you graduated? So obviously you're still at the local pest control company.
Yeah.
And at this point you're handling scheduling, you're handling the front desk stuff. You said file clerk, like,
I always knew I eventually wanted to own my own business. I did not know what it would be.
yeah.
Both of my parents own their own businesses. Actually, my dream as a kid was to own car washes.
Okay.
I don't know why. And now car washes are popping up everywhere.
You're just ahead of the curve.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I just kind of felt that company would give me the opportunity to eventually achieve that dream. And so I stayed.
Yeah.
I stayed 14 and a half years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So 14 and a half years at that company. Now I want to talk, like you said, your parents were all, what businesses did they own?
My mom owned a vinyl siding company. She was a lot of the new developments when back in the mid 90s in Deatsville. She did most of those, and then she started doing commercial work, traveling, doing vinyl siding. She had a company and crews that hung the vinyl siding, and she went out and sold it.
Okay.
My dad was a car salesman, very successful. He retired and opened a RV park up on Lake Jordan, and then had a small car lot that he did, and actually worked there one summer, learned to do title work, sold 2 cars. So
Heck
that
yeah.
the selling has been in me from my parents, I would say.
Selling came from dad.
Yes.
Running a business came from mom.
100%.
Because handling people in general is tough. So,
Yes.
So do you think they've played like a big part in where you are today?
I would say yes. When I was 11, my mom actually passed away.
Okay.
And I went to live with my aunt and uncle. And they raised me from that time forward. And they instilled work ethic.
Yeah.
And structure. And I didn't realize how much I would thrive off of structure. So they gave me that. And so how lucky am I to have 4 people mold me?
Yeah.
I know people have step parents and,
Yeah.
and extended family, but I had 4 people who loved me unconditionally and molded me into who I am now.
Yeah, that's awesome. That really is. And now, were they entrepreneurs too?
They were not. My uncle, he retired military.
Structure.
Yeah, structure. National Guard, civil service. He was a mechanic. My aunt, she had done numbers. She had been managers for a building material company and then a local gas station.
Yeah.
And so theirs was just work ethic. They just got up and worked every single day and took care of their family.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what happened in the 14, like what things did you go, you spent 14 and a half years at this pest control company.
Yes.
Before you did Pest Pro.
Yeah.
So walk me through that. Like that's a long time.
It's
Because it sounds like you came from like the go-getters, the structure, the entrepreneurs, own your own thing, and you wanted to do that. What made you,
So with the other company, I did everything there. I learned to file. I learned to answer the phone. I learned to schedule. I learned to route. Learned to sell. Eventually ran my own pest control route for a couple years. Went back into the office because that's what was needed. And then about 2017, I was like, I want to get back out of this office. And that's when I started to develop the real estate division of the company. And that's where my growth took off.
What do you
also.
mean by, like, I know what it is, but I don't think
Yeah.
everybody else real
So
estate. Yeah.
when you go to sell a house, you have to have a termite inspection, wood infestation report.
Yeah.
And so realtors need someone they can count on. And I went and developed relationships. I went to, I don't know how many open houses.
Yeah.
I took,
There's a lot of them
yeah,
out there.
yeah. I mean, I went to open houses. I went to real estate offices, took donuts, just to get my name out there because I was new in the business and I was young.
Yeah.
And so it's difficult. Realtors aren't easy to deal with. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah. I tell everyone, like with clients and stuff like that, like they'll say like, I don't mean to be hard to work with or whatever. I was like, the hardest part of my job is not my clients, it's other realtors.
Yeah.
Like let's be real.
Hey, I love all
and I'm
realtors.
sure I'm that person too, right?
You know, and so really working that side and building those relationships, and the trust that I was able to build with them, they felt comfortable referring their clients. And so in 2020, I just was ready to make that leap.
Yeah.
Knew a lot of things that I wanted to do and focus on when I started my company. Was lucky enough to purchase the book of business from the company I'd helped build.
Yeah.
So that gave me some security.
Yeah.
Was even more blessed to have two of the guys come with me.
Yeah.
So I have a strong leadership team.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What made you like? What was the like going through it, and like what made you feel comfortable? Like yes, this is the right thing to do. I'm going to buy this business. I'm going to step out. I'm ready to do my own thing. Was it the relationships and that you helped build the company from the start and like grow that division, or what was it?
It actually was Zach and Jacob.
Yeah.
Yeah, they told me they believed in me.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm gonna get emotional.
Yeah.
And so when they said that,
Yeah, that's all you needed.
that's all I needed.
Yeah, that's. I think people undervalue the support.
Yeah.
Like, and I think people would be shocked how little. Or I got it from Jordan Peterson, and I think one of the things he said is that it takes so little encouragement for people to really change their lives.
Yeah.
And like, I think that's what we need. You
Yeah.
know? And that's awesome.
Yeah, and there were a lot of things that we had done and seen that we wanted to do differently.
Yeah.
And so we knew starting a company, and when I say we started that company, it's not just me.
Yeah.
I tell people that all the time. I'm just the one that signed up for the financial risk, right?
Yeah. You have better credit than the other two.
Yeah,
or something.
I was just older and had better credit. I mean, that's literally what it was, and I wanted to take that risk. I didn't want to put it on them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm very fortunate to have both of them.
So, what was the game plan going in? Because like you definitely probably already knew the business, right?
Sure.
You knew how to like what was the goal? What was the reason behind like just doing things better or what?
So we wanted to use technology to our advantage. We had already been doing that some, and then we had been building this other company one way and knew that short term, great, we're being successful, but we kind of flipped the script, changed our demographic, who we were going after, really started building our pest control route and doing things at a slower pace and not focusing so much on all the outside noise, competition. We didn't really look up for the first year and a half. We just put our head down and worked.
Yeah. What do you mean by refocus? What were you doing? What was like, because you bought the company.
Right.
Yeah. So what was the big changes?
So traditionally for pest control companies is to go after that homeowner. So it would be your average range at that point would be 35 to 60.
Okay.
So we really flipped the script and said, no, we want to go after the first time homeowner. And at that time, real estate was, just starting to boom. And so instead of
What year was this? I don't mean to interrupt.
October 2020.
October 2020.
That's when we started. Mid 21, I'd say May or June is when we decided to go after a different demographic. Going after that first time homeowner, 20-year-olds buying houses.
Yeah.
They have no idea what to do. They have no idea they need a termite warranty.
Yeah.
So we flip that. We go after them. We market heavily on Facebook. We use social media to our advantage, right?
Yeah.
And we make it cool to be a Pest Pro customer.
Okay. All right.
It's cool to be a Pest Pro customer because my neighbor uses Pest Pro. Pest Pro has the coolest trucks. Yeah. They have the nicest technicians. They look good. They're clean. You can trust them. Those are the things that people say when they think about Pest Pro.
So what am I trying to say here? So with that, like because I know you've grown just tremendously since 20, and I guess I didn't realize it's only been since 2020 since when you took over. Yeah, when you bought it out. But what has been the biggest driver to your success? Like the growth that you've seen and experienced,
We send knowledgeable people out.
Yeah.
And we develop a plan for each house. It's not a cookie cutter blanket service. We rotate our products and we send people you can trust, and we want our technicians to develop that relationship with their customer. While they're Pest Pro customers, they're my customers. That technician, that's who has that day-to-day relationship. And so that's important. And, when they trust a Charlie and they can call Charlie on the cell phone. That's a big deal to people.
Yeah.
They're not calling and going through Arizona to Tennessee to get to someone. Like, we live in their community, we support their community, they know us.
Yeah. Because one thing you've mentioned like 3 or 4 times is relationships.
Sure.
Like the relationships, what gave you the start and grew the company before. Then when you bought it, the relationships you have with, your people giving you that push. What relationship do you think attributed the most towards your success in that? Like, is there one person? Is there 2 people? Is it 10 of them?
All the relationships you build are important, but having people that you can throw ideas off of and they're like, that's terrible, don't do that.
Yeah.
Like, I would not do that. That's an awful idea. Mike Peacock is one. He comes from a pest control background.
Yeah.
He's very honest with me. Don Duncan is another.
Yeah.
Don and I have similar stories of how we got started in our businesses, and he's been through it before. So very thankful you can pick up the phone and call 2 very knowledgeable veterans in business and them go, yeah, I wouldn't do that, or this is how you should do it.
I gotcha.
So I would say those, but I mean, again, the most important relationship is with your client. You know that. Yeah. Because word of mouth goes so much farther than a radio commercial or a Facebook ad. And so building those relationships, I think that's one of the most important parts of business.
Yeah, you can't outbrand reputation.
You can't.
No, yeah, that's for sure. So, at any point, were you super nervous when you bought Pest Pro? Like, was it exciting? Was it nervous?
It was a grind.
Okay.
The first year, I didn't look up. It was just go to work, do the work, show up every single day, even when it's hard. And then I look up and I'm like, well, we need to hire people, right? We need to hire 3 people. And so
when you started, you had how many people?
When we started, it was 3 of us. It was myself, Jacob, and Zach, just 3.
Yeah.
We have 10 people now.
Yeah.
So, there were things I wish I would have known starting a business, sleepless nights. Your mind never stops.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. I wasn't scared. I knew I could do it.
Yeah.
I knew I could be successful. I knew I had a vision, and I knew if I took the time and the effort that we could be successful in what we wanted to do, because we knew the business.
Yeah.
We're all experienced. We know the technology. We know how to service the customer's house. That's the easy stuff.
Yeah.
But it was the learning to network and put yourself out, come on podcast.
Yeah. All the fun stuff, right?
Yeah. All the extra stuff that people don't really see.
Yeah. Do you think it was just because before it was you weren't owner, that the weight became heavier of the company? Like what? Because
I was managing the other company. I was doing a lot of the work. So my day-to-day stuff didn't really change as far as what I had to do. We've had a conversation about, do we feel like we work harder now at Pest Pro? And so in some ways, I feel like the workload maybe has gotten lighter because I don't have as many hats now.
Yeah.
I get to focus on a couple things,
When did you, speaking of hats, when did you decide to I need more people? Did your business grow that much, that fast, that quickly, or?
Yeah. So everyone goes in, they have a 5-year plan, right?
Yeah.
Mine was 5 years, and it happened in 2.5. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's terrifying. It really is. And so you start seeing your employees, they're working really hard. They're overworking themselves, and you can see that. And I never wanted that.
Yeah.
You start seeing, we can't service everything we have, so you have to make that leap. And, that hiring people is scary in itself because you don't know them.
No.
Are they going to buy into your brand? And that's something really important at Pest Pro. You have to buy into our brand because we do participate in the community. Like, you've got to be willing to work a Saturday and go to a parade or show up to a Boo Fest, that kind of thing. It's not just a 8 to 5 job.
Yeah. That's one thing I do admire about y'all is just how much community involvement you actually have. Because it's one thing to say it. It's one thing to post a social media picture. It's one thing to pretend it. But I feel like you guys live it.
Yeah, absolutely. One very important promise I made to myself that as we were blessed, we would bless the community.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to just write a check.
Yeah.
So while we sponsor countless softball and baseball teams, we also go to the games.
Yeah.
I go to the games, the guys do, and that's important. They need to know when they're doing business with us, they're going to see us.
Yeah.
I truly don't. I see people write checks, and that's great,
Yeah.
but be there, show up.
Yeah. Yeah. So showing up's like half the battle, probably
Yes.
more than half
Yes.
the battle, right?
And I love a good softball game or baseball game, so I mean I enjoy
Even
it.
though you didn't play it in college.
Even though
Yeah.
I didn't play it in college, I played it in high school.
Yeah.
I knew there was no end game for softball for women,
Yeah.
right? So I knew I needed to focus on a job.
Yeah. You talked or mentioned earlier about the sleepless nights and like, because and all of that. How do you keep a level head through the process? How do you remain like that faith that you mentioned earlier as far as like, I know I'm going to make it?
Right. So a lot of growth on my part. I used to be a hothead. I don't know. People can't see that about me. I'm very transparent. I go to therapy.
Yeah.
Once a month, I go to therapy. I think mental health is very important, and that helps me a lot. But those sleepless nights, you're not just thinking about yourself. You're thinking about the families you have.
Yeah.
You control their destiny. You control their Christmas present, So you've got to think about the decisions you're making today are going to affect them 6 months, a year down the road.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
It is. It's a lot of weight, a lot of responsibility.
It is. And so, you wake up 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm not necessarily thinking about December. I might already be in March in my head. Like marketing idea. I have a whole list in my phone of marketing ideas.
So you do that too as soon as you wake up. Like the other week, like I laughed at myself because I literally jumped out of the shower soaking wet to put a note in my phone because like if I lose this, it's gone forever.
There have been so many times that I didn't write it down, and I was so mad because I couldn't remember. So I was like, it doesn't matter what time, I've got to make a note somewhere about it.
Yeah. Do you think like as you mentioned a lot of personal growth yourself? How much intention do you put behind that? Because I'm a believer in the fact of like you can't pour from an empty cup, right? You almost have to put yourself first in a selfless way, right? Because like it's the simplest analogy would be like if I'm broke, I can't give, right? So I got to take care of me first. Like how much intention do you put behind that?
So once a month, I do something that I want to do for myself, whether it's get a massage. The therapy is a no-brainer. Like that is on the schedule. That is one thing that I do for myself. I mean, you have to be intentional with it because you can't pour from the empty cup. Back in August, we were really short-staffed. And about mid-September, I had realized like I had not taken a break. And I went home one day at like lunchtime and I slept until the next day and woke up and I was like, man, I didn't know, didn't know where I was. And so I have to remember not to do that to myself. It's not fair to myself.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot about boundaries, and I've gotten a lot better at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to take care of
What do you mean
yourself.
by boundaries?
I'm a people pleaser.
Yeah.
I've had to learn to say no.
Yeah.
And I've learned that no is a complete sentence.
Yeah. That's it.
I mean,
No explanation needed.
If I don't want to do something, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
And that was been very difficult for me.
Yeah.
But
like the FOMO kicks in, fear of missing,
Yeah.
I relate to that a lot because like you want to do everything. And my thing is like, well, I'll work till 9 o'clock. Not a big deal.
Right.
I'll work till 10 o'clock. Not a big deal.
Yeah.
But then next thing you know, like a week later, after those 3-4 hours of sleep, now I'm not as present on the things that I was.
Correct.
So everything else starts to fall apart.
Yeah.
And, no's a good thing. It's a good word.
Yeah. I can't do every networking event. I can't, there are certain things that friends want you to go do. And I don't have the energy.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So like, do you keep pushing that through towards like your employees, like the people who work with you? Like, do you do that same kind of concept of like take care of yourself? Do you push
Absolutely.
that? Yeah.
So we actually once a year have mental health awareness where we'll have a therapist or counselor speak to our group and just talk about the importance of taking care of yourself. And I don't want them to get burnt out. The employees are what makes Pest Pro. And so if they're not happy, the service isn't going to be good.
Yeah.
So if they need a day off, take that day off.
Yeah.
Let's plan around it. Pest Pro that is not their life. That's my life right now.
Yeah.
That's what I'm building. So I never, they have kids. I don't want them to miss out on their kids. I want them to go to lunches, recitals.
Yeah.
It's a family environment.
Yeah.
There's this big thing right now where people just say, if somewhere says it's a family environment, run.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's not like that.
Well, I think that's like one of those buzzwords that get passed around. Like, like it meant something in the beginning, but so many people say it means nothing, but it's still true.
Yeah.
Like,
And, the other thing at Pest Pros, we work as a team. So if somebody's running behind, pick up their appointment, help them, get back ahead. And I finally feel confident that we have that right team in place to do that now.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So how long did it take you to get that?
3 years.
3 years. Yeah.
No, it was really easy when we started out with 3, right? We all had the same vision.
Yeah.
We always knew what we wanted to accomplish. We started plugging in these pieces. And then, you hire people and they don't work out.
Yeah.
And when I first started hiring people, I took it personally.
Yeah.
Took it very personally when they wanted to leave. What did I do wrong? I didn't do anything wrong. This just wasn't for them.
Yeah.
And so that's something I've learned is it's not personal, it's business.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's business. My goal has always been to make other leaders.
Yeah.
The more leaders we have in the room, the better our company is. And I tell them all the time, if that means in 3 years you go and start your own business, I'll support you as long as you don't take my customers. But I'll support you.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we're there
Yeah.
for. You're to make not just better pest control people, but better people.
Well, I think that's what breeds the culture too, right? Because like if you limit people and they want to grow, they're going to go somewhere else.
Right.
If they're limitless where they're at, like what's the point in
Right.
leaving,
I'm big on, I want my people to be certified through the state.
Yeah.
I want them to get as many licenses as they want. Right now, we have 3 certified operators on staff. We have one studying to get certified.
What do you mean by operators? What can an operator do that?
So they can go and open their own business.
Okay.
There are different levels of the license you can get where you're just you work at an office, or you can run a sub office. But go get the full license. Go get your pest control license. Go get your termite license.
Yeah.
I have a public health license, which allows us to do mosquito treatments,
Yeah.
but Jacob has our lawn and ornamental license, which allows us to do yard treatments. So work together.
Yeah.
I want them to have as much education as they want. I want them to be as successful as they want to be, and being certified helps them with that. Other companies discourage it because they don't want them to leave.
Yeah.
I'm the opposite. I actually pay for their license.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm all with you on that too. Cause like I push for agents within the office, in the real estate world, I push for them to have their broker's license,
Right.
get that knowledge, get that growth, And I think that a lot of people that discourage that are, they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot,
Right.
Because and my philosophy is why can't we just grow together?
Exactly.
Because I think, you've mentioned relationships over and over and over again so far, but it takes a team, trying to move a mountain by yourself with a shovel, you're going to be there for a minute. You
Right.
get a group of people trying to move towards one common goal, y'all all can accomplish so much more, and I think that's great that Pest Pro does that.
Yeah, and I tell them all the time, I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I don't. I want to hear ideas. I want to know, I don't work in the field anymore. That's not where I'm needed.
Yeah.
What are you seeing? What do you need?
I don't know. I've seen you go out there and spray a slab. I've seen you go out there. I think you pick up the slack when it's time and needed.
I do.
Yeah.
I do what's needed.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky enough I know how to do all of it.
Yeah.
That was something very important to me, was to know every aspect of the business.
Yeah.
And I'm not afraid to go out there and get muddy. I'm not afraid to go in the attic. I've been under houses.
Yeah.
I've answered the irate phone calls. I mean,
all the fun.
Yeah, I've done everything, and that's something I am proud of. There's nothing at Pest Pro that I'm going to ask someone else to do that I haven't done myself.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that shows from a leadership standpoint too, and I don't think you would have the success you've had without that mindset and without, we can call it experience or whatever, but your willingness to do that. You know?
And I'm very big. I don't want to be called a boss
Yeah.
because they don't work for me. We work together.
That's it.
And that's very important to me, for them to know that.
Yeah. Yeah. Like moving like where you're at now, what do you think's the biggest like hurdle you've had to overcome in the pest control business? Like has there been one or two things that like you just when it happened you didn't realize it was going to happen or
Hiring
hiring?
hiring employees. That has been the most difficult aspect for me because I have such a high standard.
Okay.
I tell people when they come in, I can teach you how to do pest control, but I can't teach you to show up, and I can't teach you to be nice to people, and
Yeah.
I can't teach those things.
Yeah.
If you're coachable, we can learn the people skills, but showing up is 90% of it. And that's been really difficult because that bar is set so high to be a Pest Pro employee.
Yeah.
And I didn't set that standard. The people that work there now have set that standard. And they're going to let me know, hey, they're not going to make it. They're not Pest Pro material.
Yeah. Well, I think if I think that speaks to the culture you've created too, right? Because like and if you've got a lot of A players out there, and if a B, C, or D comes along, like they're going to push them away.
They
Yeah.
are. And
Yeah.
it's happened multiple times.
Yeah.
This year, it's
Yeah.
happened. I had someone that I didn't really expect to come to me and go, hey, he's not cutting it. You're going to have to let him go. And within a week,
Yeah.
I had to let him go.
Yeah. It was the firing easier than the hiring?
The first time, no.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's gotten easier. I mean, you don't ever want to crush someone or tell
No.
them, hey, it's just not working out. And there are some people it's just not a fit for them. Like my company is not a fit, and at the end of the day, it is my company and it's my name, and so it has to work for me. But I've gotten really good at the firing part, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, I think it takes it. Yeah. I having to let people go or in deals or what have you,
Yeah.
like that's like doing it just crushes me,
Yeah.
like it's tough. So,
Well, and the first couple really difficult.
yeah.
And then when people quit, I mean, it sucks.
Yeah. Do you take it personally still?
I used
I know we talked about
yeah.
that before, but you,
I used to.
Yeah.
But I had one person that he wanted to quit, but he wanted to go better himself for his family. I can't blame someone for that. That's what we're teaching, right? That's
Yeah.
what we want them to do. So I don't anymore because at the end of the day, it's still just business. I mean, I have family that works for me, and if they decided at the end of the day they didn't want to be there anymore, we're still going to be family.
yeah. How is the family dynamic?
We are really good at separating work and family and friendships, and some of them they've known each other since they were kids. They've grown up together, and some of them are in leadership roles, so technically that's their boss. Zach is my cousin, and we have had screaming matches in the warehouse at 2:30 in the afternoon, just screaming at each other, and have dinner at 6 o'clock like it never happened. And that's important. I mean, it's super important to be able to separate it.
Why? What makes you be able to separate that? Like, if you could pin it on something, what would it be?
I think it's the closeness that we have as a group
Yeah.
to know that it's not personal, that it is just business.
Just
And
sometimes just got to hash it out.
and we don't always agree with each other, but that's how we get good ideas, because we don't agree with each other.
Yeah.
I think some of it is, not to toot my own horn, but to listen and just be open to ideas.
Yeah.
There's certain things that I wouldn't do that they do, and I've had to learn. They got to make their mistakes to learn how to do things correctly. So I used the analogy last year. I was like, hey, go out there, fall down, skin your knees up, and I got the Band-Aids back at the office for you.
I hear you.
That's the only way they're going to learn. That's how I learn. Put
Yeah.
your feet to the fire. Go do it. Make the mistake, own it, fix it, and then everything will be fine.
Speaking of biggest mistakes, what's the biggest mistake you've made?
Oh, in life?
No.
or-
We want because then I'll have to talk about mine, and like we don't want to go there. But
got a
like as
couple.
far as if you could have known something going in, because we all make mistakes in business, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like what was one that was just like it took a second?
That not every person is supposed to be my customer. That was my biggest mistake when I first started. Diluting my service to meet someone's price point. That was my biggest mistake, was I was trying to please everyone that I could instead of focusing on what my service was and what it was worth.
That's a pretty big learning curve. Yeah.
It is, and
Yeah.
you learn it really quickly, by the way.
Yeah.
It only takes you a few mistakes.
Couple times and then.
Yeah, and we have a policy. It's not really a policy, but if you underprice something, you have to go treat it yourself.
Oh. That's
So-
probably a good one to have.
It only takes you about one time.
Yeah.
I underpriced a job where it had to be drilled out. If you've ever drilled into concrete, it takes, depending on how thick it is, it can take 2 minutes a hole. And I spent half a day drilling.
Yeah.
And I've never underpriced anything since then.
Well, I think also like if you underprice it and have the quality suffers. I think that because we talked about like how like Pest Pro's culture is almost excellence, right?
Right.
Like we're here to do the best Pest Pro job we can, or
Right.
the pest control job we can, or termite treatment we can. And if you start skimping on that here, it's a trickle down effect.
Right.
So
Yeah. The other thing that we do differently is our salespeople are technicians. So we don't have a true door-to-door salesperson. So you're not going to be told something and then the technician come and it be done differently. You hear that a lot with larger companies. They have
I
salespeople.
never thought about that, but I
Yeah.
bet that does make a difference.
And so when you are selling something, you know how to describe exactly what's going to happen for that customer. Hey, we're going to come out, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. You're going to see more bugs for 2 weeks. After that, they're going to start falling off. If we do this, this will happen. And so when you communicate with that customer, that is the key to everything. And so that's really important to have knowledgeable staff.
Because that's got to cut down on I think we've all experienced that service or whatever it is. It's like the sales guy comes and the technician
Right.
comes, and then there's a gap of knowledge or information in that.
Right.
Then you go deal with the customer service guy, and you've got 3 or 4 people. No one knows what's going on. So all of your people they're out there and they know what's going on.
Yes, they know how we do termite treatments. They know how we do pest control. Like we talked about the Pest Pro process. We have a whole manual that actually, from the time they pull up to a house, open your phone, start your work order, get your equipment. I mean, it's that specific.
Yeah, that's cool. I think systems are pretty important. And do you agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm a method person.
Yeah, yeah.
And there are some people, they can fly by the seat of their pants. I'm not that way.
Yeah.
I need to know what's going on.
I think the people that even do that, it only works for a short time.
Right.
Like it's very, very short-lived. And I think the people that are intentional and do build systems, they're always in it for the long haul. They're not that bottle rocket business plan.
Right. Yeah.
What's something that's come easier to you with like owning a business with pest control? Like is there anything that like when you started is like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this. Like, and it just turned out easy.
The growth.
The growth.
The growth, yeah. I said I had a 5-year plan. We've done it in 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah.
It came easy, and I think it came from having that system in place.
What was the system to growth?
Do a good job. It was that simple. It was, it's so cliche, treat everybody how you want to be treated. But there were a lot of things that we knew when you heard the name Pest Pro that we wanted you to think of: being trustworthy, ethical. You knew we weren't going to cut any corner. We're not going to put a Band-Aid on something. And so, everyone asked, well, how did you grow? What did you do? We just did a good job.
Just a good job.
Just do a good job.
Yeah, let that speak for itself.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, and, the more you can get reviews, that kind of stuff, yeah, that helps. But if you do a good job and you do what you're supposed to do, I fully believe everything else will take care of itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you have was that the intention from of course to do a good job, but did you think that would play a part in your growth?
Not as big a part as it did.
Yeah.
I always felt like my reputation was really good, as far as always do what I say I'm going to do, show up, be on time. Right now, we're really big about do the small things correct, and the big things come easy. And so I've always, some of the best life advice I got from my uncle. I was playing softball. I was playing third base, and he's on the fence. He was that guy. He was on the fence coaching me, and he said, you got to think about if the ball's hit to you, what are you going to do with it? And when you get it. And then, but life's the same way. If you get the opportunity, what are you going to do with it?
Yeah, I like
So
it. I
that
dig
is,
it.
yeah,
Always ready?
yeah, always.
Yeah. Yeah. So small, because what's the old saying? Like, take care of your pennies and your dollars will take care of
Right.
themselves. Yeah.
And so that's, from washing your truck weekly to cleaning out the inside to your shirt being tucked in. Those things matter.
Yeah.
To your shoe. I mean, we have a shoe policy. You can't wear old beat up shoes.
That's awesome. Like
Yeah.
I know it's probably like the technicians are like, gosh, I just want to kick
Yeah.
around. But like if we're down to the shoes on what Pest Pro is about, like the big stuff, it's a no brainer.
Right.
And that's how you build up a brand and your reputation.
Well, and I fully believe if you look good, you feel good.
Yeah.
And if, I'm big on, I get them new shirts with the season change. We just got Carhartt pullovers. Did it have to be Carhartt? No, but it makes them feel good.
Yeah.
Right. And so something little like that goes a long way with your employee. And the better they feel, the better the job they'll do.
Yeah. Is there anything that like you've learned from managing people that makes a huge difference?
Manage the person, learn the person, learn what drives them. Everyone's need is different. Even when you sell, how you talk to people, right? When you talk to the doctor, you talk to him differently. When you talk to the old Southern lady, you talk to her differently, right? So you adapt to the employee and their need and what they want. Is it a young dad? Is it a single mom? What do they need from you as an employer? Do they need to come in 30 minutes late because they need to drop their child off and it's only them? You make it happen.
Gotcha. So more just specific to them.
Yeah.
So more relationships, right?
I mean, it is. Yeah.
I think the more and more I talk to people and the more that I grow my business and things like that, the relationships are just invaluable.
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
And I think that, one of my biggest mistakes is I didn't value them enough. It's not that I didn't value them. I just didn't value them enough.
And never burn a bridge.
Yeah.
Even if a business deal breaks apart or falls apart and you're upset and mad, you never know 5 years down the road, you may need that person.
For sure.
I think that when I was younger, I made that mistake some. And so now I realize you don't know where somebody's going to be in 5 and 10 years, and you may need them.
Yeah. I think that's easier said than done sometimes.
It
for
is,
sure.
it
But
is.
I agree with you. And I also think that like the not burning the bridge thing, it's like almost not forgiving somebody too. Like because you got something, and so you're almost like, I don't know what the analogy is, but it's like holding on to a hot, and you're hurting yourself more than the other person.
Right. There's this quote, and I'm just gonna kind of go. I don't know what it is, but it's we can all eat. We just don't have to eat at the same table together. So I'm rooting for you. I just don't have to have you in my life to do that.
I like that a lot. It's hard to put it into words, like how I feel about some things, but I think that's a good one.
Yeah.
I think that's a good one.
Just because we don't talk every day in that relationship, I had to set that boundary, right?
Yeah.
I don't wish you harm. I don't wish you bad. We just don't have to sit at the same table together.
Yeah. That's awesome. Do you think you've grown? You said a lot of personal growth in there. Like, do you have, is there things that you're, as you move forward in Pest Pro, there's certain things that you feel they're more important than others on that personal growth?
Going back to losing my mom, there are a lot of things I had to realize. Losing a parent at a young age is very difficult, and you don't realize it in that moment because you're a child and you bounce back. There are things that I've learned about myself. For instance, when I was 34, that was a difficult age for me. My mom passed away when she was 34. So the growth part is just learning more about yourself and what triggers you and what you're okay with and what you're not okay with and what you accept and what you won't accept.
Would you call that being self-aware?
You can, yeah.
I was trying to put it into the words, but would you call it that?
Yeah, I think so. And I think the older I get, the easier that is.
Yeah.
I never really understood, but now the older I get, the less I care what people think about me. And I've heard that my whole life, but it's
Yeah.
the truth.
Yeah. I think you start to realize like, and I mean, we're both young,
Yeah.
but like, I think you start to, you start to prioritize things a little differently,
Right.
like I think you start, focusing on what matters and what doesn't matter and things. And I think your priorities change over life,
They do.
Before like having the cool shoes that light up as a kid that was important,
Right.
right? And being there and being seen and all this stuff. But then,
And letting your why change and adapt as you grow.
yeah,
That's really important also.
yeah,
I think a lot of people get focused on one thing and they streamline to it and then they forget why they did it.
yeah.
But adapt that why.
Why did you want to start the company? Yeah, like what? Like I
Yeah.
know we kind of talked about that for a minute, but what was the driver? You said you knew at a young age you always wanted to own your own business,
Yeah.
and even working at the pest control company, you wanted to own something.
Yeah.
So what was the drive behind that?
It was time.
Yeah.
I lost my aunt in 2019 and I think everybody has this age where they have this epiphany.
Okay.
And I was 33, about to be 34. I was already having a difficult time with turning 34. And I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy at home. I wasn't happy at work. I just was not happy, and that was out of character for me. And I realized the only person that could change those things, that was me. I was the only person that could change any of that. And it was time. It was time to move on. And some more self-awareness is that you outgrow people, and that's
Yeah.
okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
And that's hard to learn. But it was time to just move on and do something else. And I didn't know anything else but pest control.
So it just made
It
sense.
just
huh?
made sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, I can't teach an old dog new tricks, So it was just time to do something else.
That's cool though. Yeah. I think that I can relate a lot to that, especially like the outgrowing people. Because like one of the things that I have struggled with is like I want to bring people with me, right? Like because I want to go achieve, I want to go accomplish, I want to go do big things or what have you. And it's like I want my friends and family to come along with me, and like
They don't have that same vision.
no, and it's okay that they don't, right?
And it's okay. They
Yeah.
have their own vision, but they become that anchor to you, and they
Yeah.
hold you back. And you have to learn that you have to let go of that. And it took me a really long time
Yeah.
to learn that.
Yeah. So what moving forward with pest control, like or not pest control, Pest Pro, great name, Pest Control, Pest
Thanks.
Pro. Yeah, yeah. Like where do you see yourself going? Like we're in the immediate future, not 5-10 years down the road. Like what's your next steps?
Continue to grow.
Yeah.
Continue to provide employment for families. That was never really a goal of mine to be an employer per se, but now it is.
That's a neat. Yeah, I like that a lot. That's
to
awesome.
to provide jobs and to let those people know that they're valued at where they work. I think that gets overlooked a lot. Like they do a good job. If you follow us on social media, you see if they get a review, we're putting them up. We're letting them know. We're praising them.
Yeah.
If they do something wrong, we're going to tell them in private.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to employ more people now, which is difficult as it has been. I think we finally have found a way that works for us, for our leadership team. And so, I always tell people there's plenty of bugs for everyone, and there's still plenty in the river region, and that's what we want to go after.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a great goal. Because I think people, and one of the mistakes I've made, like from a growth standpoint, is I wasn't done where I was started before I made the next jump, right? And I feel like now we're, I feel like I could have waited a little bit on some things. I feel like I could have held back some as much as I want to go achieve and accomplish and conquer. I think that's wisdom on your part.
Yeah, I'm a very impatient person. I think I always tell people I live in a constant state of anxiety. So like when someone texts me, I text back, and that's just that's a preference on me. But that's kind of trickled down the line, right? So we don't let things sit.
Yeah.
We get it done. And that also has some anxiety contributed success, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I think that sometimes you'd be surprised, like where we think we're the weakest, that's almost what helps us the most in
Right.
that time, right?
Yeah.
Like being fearful of like, oh my gosh, I don't know where my next paycheck's coming, whatever. Well, then
Right.
you go up and get after it,
Right.
And I think that you gotta got to be open enough to look at everything and be like, no, that was an opportunity at that time in life,
Yeah.
So,
Are you one of those people that you have like a set routine and you have to do X, Y, and Z every day?
yes and no. Like, I think there's certain things that I do on a daily basis that are helpful and keep me grounded and pushing through, right? Like, I feel like having a morning routine is important to me. Like, when I slack off of my morning routine, which is like I go to the gym, I read a book, or not the whole book, but I read
Right.
a little bit, try to put in some good podcast or some learning, some education, whatever. If I don't take that hour in the morning and do that, my day is never as good as it could be. Like, but I also think that like the super scheduled thing for me personally wouldn't work out because I like the opportunity and being able to pivot a little bit. How are you in that?
I have kind of a morning routine. Get up. I like to get to work. I used to get to work before everyone else. Now they picked up on that and they get there before 7:30 now. And so I had about 45 minutes of time where I called it the calm before the storm, before the phone starts ringing. And so I got so much done in 45 minutes. And I still really enjoy that part of my day. But no, my days are chaotic. I don't know what's going to be thrown at me, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know when you're going to call and need that last minute inspection. I don't know.
I haven't done it in a while.
You haven't done it in a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah.
No, you haven't.
I've been working on my systems
Yeah,
too.
there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't know when that builder's going to call and need something. So, I just kind of roll with it.
Yeah.
Some days are slow. But I get to catch up on paperwork, Yeah, I've always been intrigued. Some people they do this by 8 o'clock, by 9 they're doing this, and that's never been me.
I do a lot of time blocking. Like I try to be task specific in those
Right.
times. I mean, I own the brokerage, but I also still produce some,
Yeah.
so I try to lead by example. So like I time block like prospecting time. I time block client follow up. I make
Yeah.
sure and my priorities may change that week, right? But I always try to set a time away for the important things. Now,
Right.
as long as they get done, they get done. And it's funny you mentioned that like the morning time is your most productive. Mine's always like late at night.
Really?
Like 8, because I'm a night owl by nature.
I'm not.
Oh yeah, like I can work till midnight, 1 o'clock, no problem. And the morning is just awful for me. Like every day, I just hate the gym. I hate it.
Yeah, I'm not a morning person, so the joke is don't talk to Ashley until about 9 o'clock, and I say my prime is from 9 to 1. I'm really, we can talk, we can have whatever conversation, and then I've learned. I used to think I was an extrovert. I'm not. I'm super introverted. So by the time I get home in the afternoons, all I've done is talk to people, and I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
And that's something that I just learned this year. And I do a lot of networking, and it gets tiring.
It does. It does.
You network 3-4 days a week. Even if it's for an hour, you still talk to 10, 20 people that day, and then you still got to go back and run your business, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I've found out like it's there's two types of, and this is just my personal experience so far, but there's two types of interaction with people. You either get energy from them or they pull energy from you.
Yeah.
And the problem is the majority of people that I've come in contact with are on the latter side. They pull energy, so then it's exhausting. But then, it's conversations with me and you. I think me and you talked on the phone the other
Yeah.
day. That was an energizing conversation
Right.
right before I went to that lunch meeting.
Yeah.
I think it was great. But then most of them, it's like, answer this, fix this problem, what have you,
Have you heard of the 80-20 rule?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer on the 80-20.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's great to have a relationship. I was texting, asking for a podcast, and you were like, what do you need? And then it turned into a 30-minute conversation. And to be able to just talk business with someone that relates to it and gets it, that's hard to find.
It is, yeah. I think which I'm not on the top at all, but I never got it's lonely at the top. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And I think that means a lot of different things depending on what perspective you're looking at it from. It's lonely because no one knows what I'm going through or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think that's not true. And I heard a quote, and I don't know who it was from, but it's not lonely at the top. It's just less crowded. And
Yeah.
so not as many people can relate. It's harder to find,
Right.
so because, when you were first starting Pest Pro or whatnot, those sleepless nights, not a whole lot of people have been through that. you know,
No.
and that's one of the reasons I wanted to get you on here is like, because I feel like you've got so much to share on that.
Yeah.
So, you know, do you have big plans on Pest Pro as far as like expanding outward or, you know, because I know you said you want to focus and maximize this market. So,
We yeah, right now we go up to an hour away from the office, so we go to Troy some, we go to Date. We have a route in Dadeville. We go to Auburn. Eventually, I would love to have offices in Auburn or Troy, somewhere like that. Even Clanton,
yeah.
but it's got to be the right person to run it.
Yeah.
It's got to be someone that has the Pest Pro vision, and that's important. Maybe franchise one day. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know what that looks like.
Yeah, it's tough to find. I mean, we've talked about people, but
Yeah.
like it's tough to find people that share the same vision,
Right.
and then when you put them in that leadership role because they're carrying the load, you know, like
How
they're
well and then I feel selfish because I have two people that got put in leadership roles who do fantastic jobs.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it is difficult. But the other thing with Jacob and Zach, they're so young, right? They're just now 29. They were thrown into these leadership roles. They didn't know what they were doing. To be honest, I didn't know what I was doing. And so we've all just kind of developed our strengths and our weaknesses and figured out what we're good at. Jacob's great with the technicians, explaining how to do things, working with them on routing. Zach's a little bit more reserved. He likes numbers. He's a numbers guy. He does a lot of our business operation stuff, product ordering, maintenance on vehicles, making sure everything's running smoothly on that end, which, you know, that's a lot off of me, a lot
Yeah.
off of me, which allows me to do the things that I enjoy, which is the networking, giving back to the community, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I've been really lucky with the two of them. And a lot of the success at Pest Pro, I'm the first to give it to them, the two
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah, I think it's funny just that the more people you run into, it's all about like it's a group effort, you know?
Right.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it really is. So, do you think that what do you think like you just got it right with Pest Pro? Like I know the customer service, but like I'm talking from an Ashley point of view, like not you know, what do you think you just got right?
The
from
branding.
The branding.
The branding. The look.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to go with the blue, getting a logo that matched what I wanted. And then, you know, we wear khakis, we wear polos, we wear the same jackets, we wear Pest Pro hats. All our vehicles look the same. We are on social media, so one of the best compliments I got was from a single mom, and she said, "You're not the cheapest, but I can see everybody that works for you, and I'll know who comes to my house, and I trust that."
Yeah. I
I
don't
mean,
think you could get a better one.
yeah, and so that's part of the branding, right? How we look, how we act. Those are all very important things.
Yeah. Now, is there certain things you do within your business that like reinforce that, or does that just come naturally because you haven't wavered from that in the beginning?
Well, I mean, we have policy and procedures, and
Yeah.
you know, there's a handbook that says you can't wear blue jeans to work,
Yeah.
you can't wear dirty shoes. But I fully believe all that starts at the top, right? So if I dress a certain way, Jacob and Zach dress a certain way, and then the technicians dress a certain way. But it goes back, if you look good, you feel good.
That's it. Yeah. And so you just set the example from the
Yeah,
beginning.
and
everywhere
I fully believe in, if I ask them to be at work at 8 o'clock, I'm going to be at work at 8 o'clock.
there.
If I ask them to work, I don't work till 5 every day, I'll be honest, but my phone never stops. You know, I may not be at the office every day until 5, but I'm not going to ask them to do something I wouldn't do.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, what is like if you could would you go back in time like if you could knowing what you know now, would you change anything on your journey?
I would want to start the business sooner, at a younger age. But like I was saying, I wasn't mentally prepared to do it. And by that, I mean, I think people are naturally selfish. And so you have to be prepared to give credit when you maybe earned it. And you have to be willing to take the loss,
Yeah.
even when you didn't cause it.
Yeah. And by mentally, like, do you think that just like, what do you mean by mentally prepared as far as like you have to give people the credit or just take the load? What do you mean? Like,
I think it comes with maturity.
yeah.
you have to let certain things just roll off your back. You can't take things personally when people quit,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
All the stuff we talked about.
Yeah, I mean, and I think, some people, I mean, you're younger than I am, and you started your business and you learned things maybe quicker than I did, where I had to go through some, I don't want to say hard knocks. I had to see how things were done and know I didn't want them done that way.
Yeah.
And I think, loyalty kept me in a place for a really long time.
Yeah.
And that may have been a downfall of mine.
I don't know if it was a downfall because I feel like I don't think you'd have the people you have now
Very
without
true.
that, right?
And
like I think that like it's going back to that double-edged sword deal.
Yeah.
Like I think if you weren't such a loyal person, you wouldn't pass down that trait to your employees.
True, yeah.
You know?
And I fully believe everything happens in time. It happens how it's supposed to and when it's supposed to. I wish I hadn't have been so scared though.
Yeah.
That's it,
Yeah.
Because the confidence I had when we started, like I knew we could be successful. I had no idea we would be where we're at now, but I knew we would be okay.
Yeah. If you could go back and tell 2019 Ashley before they bought Pest Pro or anything, what would it be?
Do it.
Do it?
Do it. It's that simple. Do it. Take the risk. And I continue to give more than I take. That's something I was taught, but just do it.
Yeah.
Don't be scared.
Yeah.
You know what you're doing. Have more confidence in yourself.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, well, I think I'm going to wrap it up there because I think that's it. And I want to ask you some questions before we go. I'm going to ask everybody kind of the same questions. Where are they at? So, Ashley, what's your favorite book?
I really like the Kobe Bryant book, Mamba Mentality.
I have not read that one.
It is a really great book, and it talks about, like, Kobe was probably, I don't want to get in a debate.
Yeah, we're not going to debate, but he was
good.
Greats.
He was
one
good.
One of the greats.
But he used to practice left-handed dribbling just to get better.
Yeah.
And so that's something, just doing the work.
Yeah.
That's what I'm about. Showing up, doing the work, even when no one's looking.
Yeah.
It's such a great book. You should really.
I'm gonna write that one down. I'll probably order it to as soon as we get done with this.
Yeah.
Have you heard his coach Tim Grover? Right?
Yes,
Relentless.
I've read that.
Oh yeah,
I've read that.
That is too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to get off subject, but yeah, those were two really good ones. If you could have dinner with anyone, past, present, or future, who would it be?
My mom.
Mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to know if she's proud.
I'm sure she is. Yeah. I don't think anybody out there listening would question whether or not they're proud. I think you have enough community that just pours into you and praises you. You wouldn't have the growth you'd have right now without that. I don't think you need to question that. Yeah. So that's awesome, though. What's your favorite food?
I like a good steak.
Steak, yeah.
But if we're being honest, I love Longhorn chicken fingers.
Really?
Yes.
All the things. Longhorn chicken fingers.
I like a good steak, but Longhorn has the best chicken fingers to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I hear you. I may have to give those a shot.
Yeah. You can get them grilled or fried.
So the last question before we go is, the podcast is called How'd You Do It? So we figured that out kind of, know, the small part of how you did it, how you went from, basically working through the pest control industry to, buying that business out or however you want to call that. And then, just serious growth over the years in such a short amount of time. What is your why, and has it changed from when you started to now?
My why has always been to make people proud.
Yeah.
It's changed.
Yeah.
It's to do the right thing.
Yeah.
We have Hattie now, a little niece. Sorry.
No.
She's my wife.
Yeah. Yeah. Just a legacy.
Yeah.
That's awesome, though. Yeah.
Family's really important to me, especially when you lose so many people at a young age.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't think you have to question on anybody's proud of you. You talk to anybody that knows you on any minute depth, they got your back, and they are
Yeah.
so proud. Like anybody, I mean, and I think that's that's why I want to get you on here so much, is because I don't think there's been another business owner that I personally have met or know of that takes the everything matters approach, right?
Right.
From the shoes to how we talk to people to our presentation to everything. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's just awesome, and I think that's who you are, and that's something to be proud of. And I think everyone's super proud of you.
I really appreciate that. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. So let's wrap it up. I enjoyed the heck out of this. So I think I know you a little bit better. I thought I knew you, but guess turns out I
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I got to say it, when you want to know, call a pro.
that's it. Thanks, Ashley.